Welcome back to Friday the 13th YouTube channel, Metalheads. Today we're going to be talking about a live concert review of a band by Cannibal Corpse. Now, as we all know, Cannibal Corpse have recently been touring in the UK and Europe with Dark Funeral, Ingested and Stormruler. So please check out this review. Please leave some comments. Please share on social media sites. And as I'm talking about this live concert review, you're going to see some live photos that I took from the show. So please let me know what you think of the photos. Please give thumbs up, comments, let me know what concerts you went to on this tour. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, Metalheads, and more concert reviews, album reviews, and interviews coming soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers. And so we're going to talk about Stormruler. So this is actually a two-piece act that recorded two albums, but live there's a four-piece. So the two members are actually formed the band are Jesse Scalby on drums. We'd have Jason Ashbury on vocals and guitar. Now this band was formed back in 2019 in St. Louis, Missouri, US of A. And these guys play extreme black metal with some hardcore death metal influences. And with the live performance, we'd have Nick Burks and also Derek Engerman. Now, drummer Jesse was involved with a band called Raising Earth, Scour, and Cast in Stone, whereas Jason was involved with a band called Broken Neck, also a band called Bastard, and Fister. So the band have recorded two albums for Napalm Records. The first album was released in 2021. It was entitled Under the Burning Eclipse. And the band's second album, released in 2022, called Sacred Rites and Black Magic. And the themes are based roughly around war, fantasy, Dark Souls, and Bloodborne, as well as Viking elements. Now, there's one thing I like about this band, their image. It's very metal, it's very old school. It's kind of like cross between early Venom and Dimmu Borgir Cradle of Filth. They've got the leather, the studs, and they've got a really cool image. They're a really good band live, extremely brutal, very fierce and aggressive, but the music and vocals fit really well together. Now, I believe Nick Burns is involved with a band called Bloodletting. And Derek has also been involved with the band Cattle Decapitated and a band called Cast in Stone. Now, these guys only played a 5-song set, but what they did play was intense, brutal, heavy. I have to say, after watching the band live and seeing some of the videos, they do remind me of Bearsum and also Bathory. Now, if you've seen this band live before, you'll know exactly what to expect. And if you haven't, you really need to check these guys out. They're very brutal, death black metal from America that have a very much influenced by the Scandinavian scene. And so now I'm going to tell you what the set list was. We opened up with Reign of the Winged Duke. Then we'd have Sacred Rites and Black Magic. This was followed by Upon Frozen Shores, then followed by Eternal, Culmination of the Grand Deceivers, and the last song was called Where Dead Angels Lie. This was a cover by the band Dissection from Sweden. And all in all, this band were absolutely great live. Like I said, they're a great band. They've done 2 albums for Napalm Records. If you haven't checked them out, please do. They're a really good band, and I expect to see this band on the UK shores and European shores very soon. So, black metal fans, check these guys out. They're called Stormruler. And so we come to the second band, local band from Manchester. This would be Ingested. Now, these guys have been around for some time, and tonight was a special night for these guys. They were playing on home turf, so they brought their own audience in, which really made the difference for the show. Now, Ingested were formed in 2006 by vocalist Jason Evans, guitarist Sean Hans, and drummer Lynn Jeffs. And the band have released 6 studio albums, so that really does say a lot. And the band's last album was called Ashes Lie Still, released in 2022 on Metal Blade Records. Now, in the early stage of this band, they would have Brad Fuller on bass guitar and also Sam Yates on guitar. The band are now a 4-piece, and since Brad left the band, his replacement is Dom Grimyard. And so these guys have, like I said, have released 6 albums. The first album was released back in 2009 for Candlelight Records. This was called Suppressing the Boundaries of Human Suffering. The Surception in 2011. This was recorded for the record label Unique Leader Records. In 2015, the band released the third album, which was called The Architect of Extinction for Century Media. And then the band went back to their previous label, Unique Leader Records, for the next 2 albums. They were The Level Above Human and also Where Only Gods Layeth Tread. Now, the band have also released 4 EPs and a split album. So if you haven't got these albums, please check them out. They probably are available on eBay and also Discog. Kind of cross between, for me, Cryptopsy and Meshuggah. So you've got the technicality of Cryptopsy with the blast beats, and you've got the stop-start D-chung guitar sound of Meshuggah, which really works well in favour for these guys. And the other bands that spring to mind when I listen to this band's music is Suffocation from New York. I have to say, watching these guys, watching the audience as well was absolutely amazing. The fans were actually really into these guys. The guys were feeding back the energy and giving it back to the crowd. It was a fantastic night. Both audience and band were really enjoying it. They pulled off a really brutal set. Excellent second band to open up for Cannibal Corpse. So if you've not heard these guys before, please check them out, especially the new album released on Metal Blade Records, like I said, released in 2022. So I'm going to tell you the songs that the band played live. They opened up with the song Rebirth, which was followed by No Half Measures, Shadows in Time, Adi Spoiler, Impending Dominance, Invidulous, and Echoes of Hate. Absolutely great band indeed. Very heavy, very technical in places. Like I say, if you're a fan of Mesh Sugar, Voivod, Cryptopsy, Suffocation, this is a very extreme death metal band for you with elements of hardcore and technicality. So great band. So we're going to talk about the next band now, which is Sweden's black metal artist, Dark Funeral. So Dark Funeral were actually formed back in 1993 by guitarist Blackmore and Lord Harriman. And with the lyrical contents based around Satanism and anti-Christianity, this is two things that black metal bands seem to be involved with. The band also featured Thermigod on bass guitar, was involved with a band called Scum, and original vocalist Dragon. And like any band, they've had some lineup changes. So the current lineup for Dark Funeral is Lord Harriman on guitars. We'd also have Chak Moll, who will be playing guitars. Helmar Raja, who's doing the vocals. We'd also have Andra Melik, who's playing the bass guitar, and drummer Joma. And the band have recorded 7 albums, if you didn't know. The first album was called The Secrets of the Black Arts, which was recorded in 1996, followed by Fabulous Santanas in 1998. And the last album the band recorded was called We Are the Apocalypse in 2022. This would be released on Century Media Records. Now, I'm going to have to say that I thought Dark Funeral were a pretty good band, actually. It's the first time I've seen them, and they come across pretty much a cross between Dimir Borgir, Mayhem Murdoch, Venom, Cradle of Filth, and they certainly have that image of Cradle of Filth meets Dimir Borgir. But then again, all black metal bands have this like Viking, dark, gothic elements to them. The leather, the studs, the spikes. So watching these guys live was interesting. There was a very, very dark atmosphere. Obviously, it's black metal, so you've got to have dark lights. Blue lights is especially a good thing for black metal music. It was interesting to watch live, but at the same time, quite difficult for photographers like myself to get the lighting conditions right in the cameras. Now, both guitarists did a fantastic job together. Same with the vocals. They were pretty high-pitched in places, very screamy like black metal is, but it was also very clear in places as well. This is something that I really enjoyed about the band. Watching the drummer live was interesting because if you're a fan of blast beats, this is one guy you need to check out. He's a really good drummer. He performs well. He plays his blast beats really good, but he also does some really good slow parts as well. A really good drummer, really interesting band to watch live. So I rather enjoyed these guys live. I thought they were interesting to watch. I certainly need to go and check them out again if they're at a festival. So I'm going to give you a rundown now of the songs the band played live. In total, there were 9 songs. So we started off with Nosferatu, Vocibus Santanas, My Funeral, The Secrets of Black Arts, When I'm Gone, Nail Them to the Cross. Now, I thought Nail Them to the Cross was probably the best song of the set. It was a bit more controlled, kind of reminded me of old school death metal. They would also have followed by the song Unchain My Soul, Let the Devil In, and the last song was called Where Shadows Forever Reign. So in total, 9 songs by a cult classic death black metal band from Sweden. So check out Dark Funeral, folks. Next up is Cannibal Corpse. So what do we say about Cannibal Corpse? One of the godfathers of death metal, originally formed back in 1988 in Buffalo, New York, but the band relocated to Tampa, as we all know. They were the only band to come out of Buffalo, New York, to relocate to Tampa. There was also Malevolent Creation. And so the early stages of Cannibal Corpse would consist of 3 bands coming into one band. So we'd have Beyond Death, which would feature Alex Webster on bass guitar. We'd also have original guitarist for Cannibal Corpse. Back then, Jack Owen was also in the band Beyond Death. Vocalist Chris Barnes was involved with a band called Leviathan and also a band called Tyrant Sing alongside Bob Rusky, original guitarist for Cannibal Corpse, Paul Mazurkiewicz on drums. Now, all 3 bands broke up and Cannibal Corpse got together in 1988 and the band released their first album on Metal Blade Records, which was called Eaten Back to Life in 1990. This would feature Alex on bass guitar, Chris on vocals, we'd have Jack on guitar, Bob on guitar, and Paul on drums. Pretty shocking to see the cover. A lot of fans didn't expect to see a cover as brutal as this, but it really did shock the metal community, especially the death metal community. And this album for debut sold extremely well. Now, Cannibal Corpse are pretty much one of the godfathers of death metal, alongside Malevolent Creation, Victory, Morbid Angel, Death are the godfathers, as we all know, and many other bands out there. So, Cannibal Corpse are one of the godfathers who have been making fantastic music ever since 1990 with the debut album. The band went on to record the second album, Butchered at Birth, in 1991, and also Tombs of the Mutilated in 1992, all with the same lineup. Now, the band's next album, The Bleeding, would see Bob leave the band, and his replacement, his longtime guitarist, who's still in the band now, Rob Barrett, was also with the death metal band Solstice. 1996 would be see the departure of Chris Barnes. His replacement would be longtime vocalist George Corpse Grinder Fisher, who was once with the band Monstrosity, who released 2 albums. All albums are fantastic, really solid, all have their own identity. The thing I like about Cannibal Corpse is not all the blast beats and all the real fast riffing. I like a lot of the slow trigger riffing. This, for me, brings out the true power and energy of Cannibal Corpse's music. Now, with the band's last release, Violence Unimagined, which is a brutal album, very, very technical, some great playing on here. This album would also see new guitarist Eric Ruton join the band, who replaced Pat O'Brien. Now, Eric has been involved with these guys for quite a few number of years now, producing their albums. We all know Eric was involved with Morbid Angel, and also his former band, Ripping Corpse. Like I said, there's a lot of trigger guitar in here. It's not all about speed, but when these guys do slow down, the music just shines through even more. It's got more energy and power. But I really like these guys. I have a lot of respect for them. But seeing them live was fantastic. If you have never seen these guys before, you really need to check out Cannibal Corpse. Both guitarists Bob and Eric were doing a fantastic job, while the rhythm section by Alex and Paul was equally as good. Alex, for me, is a fantastic bass player. I always call him the death metal version of Steve Harris. He's a fantastic bass player, just like Steve from Testament and Death, 2 underrated bass players. Paul's a fantastic drummer, really does do some fantastic double bass drumming, some really heavy drumming as well. As for George's vocals, what can you say? Brutal death metal. This guy doesn't hold any punches back. He's a brutal singer, and he's a really good frontman for the band as well. So these guys were absolutely fantastic live. Full of energy, brutal, heavy, energetic band indeed. This is where it started, folks. These guys are still playing excellent music today. They're never going to slow down, let's face it. They're writing some brilliant music. And so I wish these guys all the very best for the very near future. I know these guys are going to be writing some fantastic music in the future. So go and check them out if you can. I'm sure these guys are still touring for this new album, Violence Unimagined. If you haven't got this album, please check it out. It's on Metal Blade Records. So I'm going to tell you the rundown of the songs that the band played live at the Manchester Academy. So in total, we'd have 18 songs for Cannibal Corpse. The band would open up with a song called Scourge of Iron. This would be followed by The Time to Kill Is Now, Inhumane Harvest, Code of the Slashers, Fucked with a Knife, The Wrench Spawn, Gutted, Kill or Become, I Come Blood, Evanescent Plague, Death Walking Terror, Condemnation, Contagion, Necrogenic Resurrection, Unleashing the Bloodthirsty. Would have Devoured by Vermin, Skull Full of Maggots, Stripped, Raped and Strangled, and the closing song would be Hammer Smash Face. So, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out the review. I hope you like the photos. Please leave comments, thumbs up, let me know what you think, and let me know what shows you did for this tour. So, be safe, metalheads.